All right, basis of construction administration. This is going to focus on hard skills, not soft skills. So if you're looking for soft skills, you'll have to definitely call me a different time. So there's three things in every business across the world. You've got people, processes, and technology. A really good example of companies that run really well administratively are franchises. You've got McDonald's and Chick-fil-A. Which one has better people? Probably Chick-fil-A, right? They're better paid. They have less of an attitude, right? So when you think about administration, it's not about smiling faces. It's about getting shit done, right? McDonald's and Chick-fil-A both serve their customers, but Chick-fil-A does it better. Why do they do it better? Because they care more, because they spend more time, energy, and effort doing it, all right? So when you talk about people, what do you have to do with people? Attract and hire them, train and evaluate them, and retain them, right? Right now, people are constantly complaining that they cannot find people. Well, people are the only thing that really matters at the end of the day. And if you can't keep them happy, you will soon find out that you will be out of business. Processes, you already have a process. It's rather good or shitty, and there's really no in between. If you're always frantically running around, you have a really shitty process, all right? A good process is immediately accessible, electronically available, and consistently updated. A bad process is my problem dependent, right? FITFO, that's figure it the fuck out. That means that you are running around with your head cut off, and so is everyone else. A bad process also looks like somebody else's problem. Oh, well, the superintendent did this. Oh, the project manager didn't do this. Oh, the subcontractor didn't do this. All you're doing is turning the FITFO from your problem to somebody else's problem, all right? And the worst kind of process is feelings-based. If you ever say, I'm not going to do that this time, because you are not dealing with a process, you're dealing with a person, and that person is yourself. Processes don't have feelings, people do. And then technology. So we got people, process, and technology. So this is what everybody always wants me to give them some magic answer. There's some magic software. Well, the truth is even if you spend $1 million on a software, it's only as good as the process you create for the people to follow. That is what construction administration is, all right? So what do you do, right? You feel stuck. You start where you are at. You strategize what you want from your business, evaluate it as it stands today, and then create a plan to implement the changes necessary. Sounds a lot easier said than done, right? You talk about, like, think about a hospital or a surgeon, right? Somebody comes in with a heart attack. They use a heart surgeon, right? They don't just use anybody, because not anybody will work. So that guy prepared, and he went to, or girl, or at least 8 years of school, right? So think about how much work you're going to have to put in your business for it to run smoothly. It's not easy, okay? So everybody is scared. I just want to make sure that I hit that over and over again. Every person is scared. Not everyone makes moves. So if you want to change your company, if you want your life to be easier, you're going to have to change. And if you're not okay with change, then don't waste your time reading books and learning about things if you're not going to have a voice to speak up and say what's wrong, right? Or a voice to speak up and tell people that they have to do things a certain way. All right. So all businesses, like I said, across the whole universe have all of these things: accounting, admin, human resources, information technology, legal, marketing, operations, sales. It doesn't matter how small your company is, okay? So right now, even if it's literally just, let's say, a husband and a wife team, and the husband does all of the work, physical work, and the woman does all the bookkeeping, somebody is the accounting department. Somebody is the admin, somebody is human resources, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So people seem to think that construction is this like really rough and tough, and you can just swing by and do nothing. But here's the thing. Construction is just operations. That just happens to be what your business does. So when you think about the construction process, it goes sales, contracting, design, pre-con, construction, post-construction. That is it. That is the project cycle. and that is the operations of your business. So a basic construction process looks like this, and it's missing paperwork, processes, and technology, right? People say they're going to prep, they'll demo, they'll rough it in, finish the trades, and then complete it. But they forgot about all of the paperwork, all of the processes, and all the technology, which are the only things that make up a company, okay? So some guys or girls will get a little bit better at it, and then they'll go intermediate, right? So they'll go from contracting, then they'll make sure that they're estimating correctly. They'll make sure they get a contract signed, right? And then they'll go through this process, but they're still missing some stuff, and they're not sure exactly what they're missing. Well, let me tell you what you're missing. What you're missing is all of this stuff. And this is actually a really basic model. I know it says advanced construction process, but like there's a million steps underneath each one of these. Exactly the same as a heart surgeon. There's a million steps here, okay? And each step matters just as much as getting the contract signed. So I'm not gonna go over this right now, we're gonna get to it, but I wanna show you one more time. The basics of construction administration is you run a business, your operations happens to be construction. All right, so what do you do? All right, so you strategize. Oh goodness, I think I missed the strategy one. Oh, well, okay, well, first you strategize. The only way you can strategize is by looking back at historical information, at the data, at the problems you've encountered, right? As well as your goals that you have for the future. That's the only way you can strategize, right? If you want to be the next Turner Construction, if you want to be the next anything, okay? Think about how many years it took them to get there. You can't skip a step. You're gonna have to go in order. You can't just all of a sudden have this miraculously amazing, beautiful construction company if you don't have the people, right? If you had an unlimited budget, maybe you could hire all these people and have this perfect company, but realistically, it's gonna fall down on you. So you gotta strategize what you're going to do in order to become the company you want to. And when you evaluate it, okay, so this is like physically what you're gonna do when you leave this conversation. You're going to think about your company broken down in these steps. From sales, client contracts, pre-con, construction, post-construction, if you have design, if you have specifications, submittals, stuff like that, you might have to add some stuff. But I want to tell you this, you already have this process. It might be shitty, but you have it. So go ahead and write it down. If you want to take a picture of this or screenshot it or something, you already have all of this. And if you write down what you do, you're going to be ahead of the game, all right? Another thing that you're going to evaluate is your business process. So when you talk about your company getting bigger or better, you need to think about who's the boss, right? The hierarchy of it, or in the future, what you would like your company to look like. And then employee types and responsibilities. The worst thing that you can do for a business is to hold somebody accountable for things they're not responsible for. Okay, so those two things have to match up. If you can't match those up, you're losing, all right? And when you do it to yourself, or if it's a team of 2 or 3, everybody's internally pissed off at everybody else, all right? And that's probably what you're experiencing right now, and that's probably why you're here, right? Because you're frustrated, because you think it's their job, they think it's your job, and nobody's communicating effectively, right? And then departments. Again, you already have all of these departments. It is strictly who is in charge of them. And also, what do you want off of your plate as you grow into a bigger company, if that's what you would like. All right. And then software. Like I said, everybody wants me to tell them a software that's going to solve all their problems. That is simply not the truth. You have to look at your current workflow, and you need to find a software that matches where you want to go. Do not get a software that solves a today problem. Get a software that solves today in the next year, or today in the next 2 to 5 years. Do not buy a software just because everybody else is buying it. That's the worst thing in the whole world you can do, all right? When you plan, you need to think again about that organizational structure, right? There's a lot of these here, and I know this seems like a little bit maybe convoluted, especially if you're a small business right now, but it matters because it's going to help you clear your mind, right? And second is also going to let you see the future. When you don't plan, you will fail. That's a fact. Or you will at least be in an extreme state of frustration at all times. So this is like a little bit bigger picture, but I just want to like get your guys like thoughts in the right part. And then this, do not forget about this. You're stressed out because maybe you got too much stuff going on, but really it's because you're not in control and you don't know where the money is. That's 99% of the problem, right? You don't know if you can afford that new car. You don't know, right? So doing an overhead budget and departmental budget oversight is very, very important. Do not wait to the end of the year to ask your accountant to tell you how much money you have. Do not use your bank account as the only source of truth, because if you're not doing all the things you need to do, you can't have the correct overhead budget. You can't have the right departmental budget. And then when you're planning, think about your department functions, what meetings you're going to have, what reports you need to have, what administrative upkeep you have, how often you're going to have to do that, right? As well as the business unit size dependent spread. Right now, if it's just you and one other person, maybe you guys can just text. You add a third person, it's done. Your texting is trash now, all right? And then you have to plan your construction process, what you want. It's really important to look at project types. If all you do is garage doors, great for you. 99.99% of the time, people have multiple types of projects, and it's very important to separate them. Because if not, you're like, oh, well, on this job, we do this, so I'm going to do it over here. You've got to separate them. They might as well be independent departments or independent companies. When you think about the construction process, also think about minimum standards and field standards. Your minimum standard of turning an invoice in is your minimum standard. If sometimes you wait, when you don't get paid, you can't be mad. Same with field standards. If you're always having to call this one sub back to come do punch list items that he said he already did, put a hard line in the sand. You're going to be fired if I have to call you back, right? And then administrative standards and reporting. Now, I know this whole thing's about administration, but I'll tell you this, everything is administration. People talking is administration. Reporting your monthly financials, reporting the profitability of each project, that's all administrative, all right? And then making sure that when you're planning, you think about continuous improvement. You will never be perfect. We're all aiming to be better every single day, right? So don't forget that you will have to improve, and don't just say, oh, well, I'm done, and put your hands in the air. All right. How do you implement these things? You create processes before you need them. You invest in technology before you need to. And you hire and train employees before you need to. That's easier said than done when you don't have money. And I understand that. All right. So what do you have to have for administration? A single source of truth. That is a software, a server, or an application. Accessibility matters. Every single person or every single additional person who starts your company needs to be able to hit the ground running. Not only does it frustrate you when employees aren't performing, but it frustrates them. All right. You need an SOP. An SOP is simply a standard operating procedure. It's for every department, every project, every task for each employee, right? You have to tell people what to do or they will fail you. If you don't know what to do, no one else knows what to do. That's a fact. If you change your mind often, your employees will change their mind often, and you'll be in a constant state of frustration. And another must-have for administration, like I said, is to be open to change. Try to be forward-looking, but don't be so stubborn that you can't change for the better. And this is the most important part, and this is something that most companies struggle with, especially when you're not making that much money, or you need to focus on making more money or be more profitable. But the worst thing you can do is piecemeal something together. If all you fix is your takeoff system, that's not going to solve your estimating. If all you solve is hiring a photographer, that's not going to change your punch list, right? And so it needs to be a continuous process that anybody can pick up on any time. Someone should be able to replace you tomorrow. All right. All right, so let's go. So we're going to go back to that whole construction process. Do you guys have any questions? No? Okay. I'm going to keep going then. All right. So we're starting from sales. We're going to go to post-construction. Sales. I have this really unhealthy relationship with sales where I believe that sales and marketing are the same thing. Sales experts will tell you, no, I don't consider myself a sales expert, but I'll tell you this. Just like everything in life, if you don't plan to reach your goals, you will not reach them. When you think about planning in sales, you have to have a vision. That's what makes business owners, having a vision for the future. If you stop having a vision, if you don't have core values, you will never, ever, ever be satisfied. Okay, you'll buy that new truck, you'll invest in that new software, and I'll never feel like enough because you don't know where you're going. All right. When you talk about sales, you're going to reach for 100 years. What do you want this business to be the day you die? That the answer might be, hey, I'm just using this as a paycheck. And actually my dream is this. That is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. So don't feel like you got to be married to this one company, this one thing, or maybe your goal is, hey, I want to make $1 million and go retire. Good for you. All right. But you still need that inner vision. Then you need to do 100 years, 10 years, and 1 year. When you start hiring employees, they need a vision, all right? And when you talk about goals, you make these big, great, grandiose, I can't say that word, goals, but you need to break them down, okay? Quarter, monthly, weekly, and daily activities. You are what you do every day, all right? So if you don't know what sales looks like on a daily basis for you, you do not have a plan. All right, so to get some hard skills back in here, we've got CRM. This is the most important thing that you can do in sales. There's free ones. You can look them up. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Manager. And again, it goes back to think about the overall picture. When you use something like this, it's effectively a contact, right? It's the same as like having a cell phone, but nobody can see your contacts. You can't look at the bigger picture when you don't know how you met these people, how many times you've contacted them, an easy way to follow up with them, maybe send them some recurring information, right? Invest or spend the time in getting a customer relationship manager. Some softwares do provide this for you. If you don't get this, you will be, again, perpetually in a state of frustration. Why can't I get repeat clients? Well, it's because you suck, right? So accessibility matters and structure matters. And remember, when you're looking at any type of software, making sure you're looking at the cost, the upfront cost, as well as the cost to hire additional employees. It gets very expensive very fast. All right, estimating. This is everybody's most frustrating part of life, okay, for contractors. There's this book on here. It's called Turning a Profit as a Contractor. I don't get any money from it. I just think it's a really great book. And it is a really simple guide. I think it speaks in common construction terms for anybody to kind of understand. And it tells you so much you need to know, because if you don't understand money, you don't have a business. Okay. So read this book if you don't know how. It does not give you specifics into estimating. It gives you how it works, how the numbers flow. So when you talk about estimating, you need to look at data. Whatever you have before, no matter how shitty it is, you need to look at it and remember the pain points, because those are the things that you need to improve, all right? We talk about cost codes. I talk about these all the time. It's a really great way to organize your mind. You can find the commercial cost codes on the masterformat.org, and you can find the residential cost codes on NAHB.org, National Association of Home Builders, NAHB, right? Yeah, and use those. And then you've got forecasting. When you're estimating, again, do not be short-sighted. Think about the future. It's like if you're looking to, whatever, hire a new project manager, maybe you want to try to start adding project management time in there, right? And then the worst thing that you can do in your whole life is estimate in your head. If you estimate in your head, you're not doing it correctly. Even when you've been doing it 50 years with all the material price increases and all that kind of stuff, now is not the time to estimate in your head. All right, contracting. When you talk about legal stuff, these are the things that matter the most. Payment terms, material increases, knowing your rights, and including drawing specifications or selection design. Right? So what you don't write down is your fault. What your customer says is their problem. What you are contractually obligated to is your fault. All right? When you contract, always sign, receive, save your contract, insurance, and change orders. There's no excuses. If you can't immediately access something, you're failing, all right? And then we talk about templates. I already talked about these, but these are templates for contracts. You can do whatever you want, but the commercial templates, the main one is called AIA. I think it stands for Architects Information, American Institute of Architects. There you go. And it's really sophisticated and big and sexy, but that's it, okay? And then you got residential, again, the National Association of Home Builders. I think I typed that wrong, NAHB. And they have some templates there as well. You can also Google things. Just make sure that you understand the different types of contracts and make sure that you understand that you still need to get these reviewed by a lawyer. I don't care if you spend $1,000 on a template, you still need it reviewed by a lawyer, and you still need to come to them with a list of your own problems, because your business is unique no matter how non-unique you think it is. All right, design. All right, so just because your business is maybe smaller, like I said, you just do garage doors, you will always have some sort of design, right? Like some sort of conversation with the customer. If you ever want to get out of just being you or you and one other person, you're going to have to come up with a system for this. All right. So when you think about design, think about it as inspiration and add a definitive date with documented repercussions. If you are not hard here, you will always be upset. Okay. So limit the choices you give to people. Limit how long they have to make the decisions, and limit the changes or charge the fuck out of them. Do not just take what people give you. People will take as much as they can. You have to draw a line in the sand. And again, remember, you're not being a hard ass, because processes don't have feelings. People do, right? Make sure that you get everything in writing and signed. That's the biggest mistake I see, especially with change orders or verbal agreements. There's no such thing as a verbal agreement. There's no such thing. Okay, it is, whether it's in writing or it's not. And then meetings and templates with key stakeholders. Depending on how complicated your process is, you may need to have a meeting every single day for a week, or a meeting once a week for 12 months. And that's really up to your business. All right. And when you talk about key stakeholders, do not invite too many people to a meeting. Only invite the people who care and are going to do something about it. Pre-construction. Failing to plan is planning to fail. If you just keep winging it, you're going to keep getting the same results. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Do you want to win all the time, or do you want to win sometimes? So when you think about pre-construction, buy out early and hard. Do not wait. Do not send an estimate that you can't get the materials for. That makes you look stupid, right? Don't do it. That's lazy, all right? And most importantly, be realistic in your overall schedule. Do not tell people something is going to take a day when you know it's going to take a week. If you think it's going to take a week, tell them a week and a half. Be realistic, okay? Do not overpromise and underdeliver. All right, construction. Who is the boss? This is something that I like to reiterate over and over and over again. You are frustrated because you own the business and everything is up to you and you don't like it, but yet you expect people to come ask you a question. It is rather you trust them to make decisions, you trust yourself that you're giving them the tools and the resources, or you don't. That is it. Somebody is the boss of the project, and if the answer is always you, then you have a job, okay? And when we talk in construction, you know, when you talk about, I said that realistic, in the pre-construction, I said, talk about that realistic schedule. During construction, you need to be aggressive, okay? Your 3-week look ahead, I don't know if you guys are commercial or not, but when you're talking about, when you're in the commercial world, be aggressive during your 3-week look aheads, right? Be realistic in the overall schedule and what you communicate to the client, but my God, when you're there, beat it, all right? And we're going to go back here to where is the truth, right? You can't have 3 bosses on a job site. You've got 1, all right? Where is the truth? Where is the contact information? Who is the dumpster company? Where do y'all get porter potties from? When are payouts due? Who do you talk to when you're not getting paid on site? You're like, for example, a subcontractor. Where is the truth? One person needs to know and be able to coordinate. All right. Money is the only thing that matters, right? Money makes the go roll round. So again, we talk about goals. Each project is its own goal in itself, right? You want to make the most money in the fastest amount of time and make sure your customers and your employees are happy, right? How do you do that? Well, you make sure that you have fucking money, right? So that means you execute your job financials daily. That means that every bill that comes in needs to be getting entered every single day. That might be you, that might be an accountant, that might be a project manager, depending on how you set up your business. Then you need to review your job financials weekly. This is the person who is overall responsible for the project. It most likely is a project manager, all right? And then manage job financials monthly. That is your responsibility as the owner of the business, or your responsibility as the operations to hand to somebody, the operations guy of specific departments. Do not wait to look at this stuff. Do not wait. It's very important. Okay. And then client management. During construction, you need to be speaking with your client. If you're there for a day, it's at the beginning and the end. If you're there for a year, it's going to be probably weekly, but people and clients love to see progress. Use some type of software. Again, a lot of softwares come with this, or you can find these like, one-off ones that will give daily progress photos. People love to see their money working. They do not want to see an empty job site, right? And then the weekly updates is also, like I said, that is really important to have that communication. A lot of times your clients don't give a fuck, but you doing it consistently makes them trust you. And so when one thing goes bad, they're not going to freak out because you've been here every Monday at 3 o'clock. All right. And post-construction is the last 10% is the only thing anyone ever remembers, right? Think about a breakup you had. Do you remember the flowers he used to send you? No. You remember the last thing he did or she did that pissed you the fuck off. That's what you remember, right? It's the same in construction. It's the same for clients, especially when you're fucking with these people's houses or fucking with these people's investments. The last 10% is the only thing that matters. So the punch list is the only focus you should have. As the owner of the business, if this is you, great, you can manage it. But if it's somebody else, do not have them start a new job and do not replace someone. Do not take a super out of a job until he is finished. Do not take a tech out of the field until he is finished, or you're going to have pissed off customers. All right. During post-construction, make sure you get reviews. And there's, like I said, some of the softwares integrate in there, but overarchingly, you need to get reviews. And then final photos. Again, this is part of that process. You need final photos on every job. Even if the job isn't sexy, you need a final photo. Maybe in the future, a customer will need to reference it, or wants a similar job and you won't have any photos. You just have supposedly this proof in your mind. Proof is in the pudding, all right? And then finally, a follow-up process. Talk about repeat clients or referrals. If you don't follow up with customers, they're going to forget about you. They're going to forget your name. They're going to forget your company name. And chances of them saving your little business card or whatever are low. And so having some type of follow-up process, specifically utilizing something like a CRM or something like a constant contact, where you can like email people or call people, set reminders to call people after 6 months, after a year. If you do that, you will have a better reputation than anybody else just because you follow up, and they will remember your name and they will refer you work if they liked the last 10%.